Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL Podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lee, and I am on another solo mission today, but that is okay. We are bringing it down to Port Canaveral to talk about a favorite, the good old Disney fantasy. A favorite among many in the DCL community for sure. But our guest today, this will be their first DCL experience, so we are excited to jump into it. With that, I would like to welcome our guest this week, Aimee, to the show. Aimee, how are you today?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks, Blake.
Yeah, thank you for filling out the form and agreeing to come onto the show. We're excited to get into it. Why don't you start with a little bit of your Disney and cruising background?
Yeah, so my husband and I did one cruise like almost 20 years ago. He actually proposed on that cruise. And we, at that time, were brand new to cruising, had no idea what to expect. So we literally just treated it as a ferry boat, taking us from one spot to the other. We would eat breakfast, then get off the boat, and then come back for dinner and go to bed. So the whole concept that like the ship itself is a destination was something new I learned as I started researching Disney cruises. 2 years ago, we took my kids to Disneyland. And while that was really fun, we have so many friends and family that love Disney cruising. So we decided to give Disney cruises a try.
I love it. Well, what had you land on this 5-night sailing on the Disney Fantasy?
Well, I've listened to so many of your episodes and everybody raves about the fantasy. I also joined a lot of Facebook groups leading up to the booking window. So yeah, I mean, the fantasy came out as a favorite for many. And we also weren't sure if this is going to be a one and done cruise for our family or if this is something we were going to get hooked on. So just in case it was a one and done, I wanted to make sure we found an itinerary that would include Lookout Key and Castaway Key so we could check those off our list.
I love it. Yeah, what a great itinerary, especially for a first-time cruiser for sure. Before we head to the port, why don't you dive into who sailed with you?
So I sailed with my husband and my 2 kids, my 9-year-old son and my 6-year-old daughter.
Lovely. Well then, how did you get down to Port Canaveral? And did you do any pre or post-day stays as well?
No, we heard that the cruise itself is very busy and very exhausting. So we opted to not have anything before or afterwards. We just wanted to focus on the cruise. So we flew down the night before and we stayed at the Hyatt, which everybody recommended. And I see why. Literally, as soon as we passed those security checkpoint, we walked into the airport and saw the hotel. And so that was nice. It made the whole process so easy. We landed the night before, right before dinner time. So we grabbed food at the airport food court. And then we just walked around the airport and Santa gave the kids $50 Disney gift cards for the cruise, which was very nice of him. And so we went to the Magic of Disney store and just walked around to look at the souvenirs. And typically, especially my daughter, if she sees something, she wants it right away. And we kept saying like, okay, well, figure out what you want here. We're going to come back here. But then when we're actually on the cruise, if you see something else, you have something to compare it to. And then you can know, yes, I really want this, or no, I'd rather save it for the airport. So that was really helpful because surprisingly, they didn't find anything on the Disney cruise and they didn't know how to spend their gift cards. So when we went back to the airport on our return flight, then they were able to spend their money and get the toy that they originally wanted. And we didn't have to lug it around on the cruise, which was nice.
I love it. Did you do the Disney transportation to the port then?
Yes, we did. So I travel on points. I stayed at the hotel on points. We try to make this trip as affordable as possible. And I had a hard time committing to DCL transportation just because there are more affordable ways to get to the port. But after talking to several families who've done Disney cruises, everybody recommended the DCL transit. So I bit the bullet and I paid for the round trip fare for us. And it was worth it. It was just nice that, we woke up in the hotel. We didn't have to worry about luggage. We just left it in the room and they picked it up later. They told us our check-in was at 8:40. When I got down there, they said, oh, actually, that's not for somebody with no status. It's only for the people who have platinum and pearl status. So my husband was able to take the kids and they walked around the airport for a while. They went back to the Magic of Disney store because they really like the toys there. And I just sat in the ballroom at the Hyatt and waited. And then I was able to tell my husband, like, hey, they're starting to check in the silver Castaway members. So once we bring the kids back, we'll be called up pretty soon. Yeah. And then we checked in and we got on board on the bus.
If you hadn't booked the Disney Cruise Line transportation, what would have been your next choice?
I think we would have taken an Uber, but then we would have to lug around a car seat and try to figure out where to keep that in the cabin. So it was just easier. And I also I've never been to that port before. I don't know where the drop off is. And Disney, they literally just pull you right up. And then with no status, we were able to get off the bus, walk right through, walk onto security. I expected there'd be some kind of line that we'd have to wait in. We literally just walked right through everything, went through the security check, and we were on the boat by like 11:30 or 11:45.
One of the great perks about doing that DCL transportation is it will supersede your port arrival time. Did you have to hang out in the port like waiting area at all, or were you pretty much able to get onto the ship pretty soon?
Not at all. I mean, we just walked off the bus, walked through everything, and walked onto the ship. In fact, my kids collect the little penny press coins, so the ones, and they had one of those machines in the port, and I was like, oh, like we should stop and go do this. But I was like, there's no line to wait in, so let's just keep walking and we'll get on the boat. So,
well then, you and your family take your first steps onto the Disney Fantasy. What was that like?
It was great. We booked this. I'm a big planner, so I was probably looking at Disney cruises. I mean, immediately after we finished our Disneyland trip. So maybe 2.5 years before we actually took our trip, I booked it the first day they released the itineraries to people who didn't have Castaway Key status. So I took a screenshot. It was 680 days out. So it was just so nice to like do all this planning and all this prep work and then to finally be there and be able to relax and enjoy all the great things that we've heard about.
I love it. Well, you've done quite a bit of research about what to expect and what to do. You get on board. Where are you heading first?
So the very first thing, which I didn't know would happen, is we looked out. So we walked in the atrium. We saw the beautiful chandelier. Our family was called out by name. And then we looked up and we saw Goofy was there taking pictures on the fourth deck. So we walked up the stairs and there was no line. So we just walked right up and we got to see Goofy and we got our first picture. And I was really hesitant on whether we should even do the photo package. And then after that first picture, I was like, oh, we're just going to go all in. We'll buy the package and get as many photos as we can. And now we'll have a really hard time picking out what we want on our Christmas card because we have so many great pictures from that trip.
Well, seems like an obvious answer here, but you got value out of doing the photo package then?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, you get those photos. Where are you heading next on your embarkation day?
Then, because of all the tips we heard on the podcast, we decided to do the sit-down restaurant, which was at Animator's Palette. And we ordered food there. We were able to look through the navigator and kind of figure out what activities we wanted to do that day. And probably the highlight for me was I'm a big sweets person. And since we were a family of 4, we decided to order all 4 desserts that were on the menu. And we got to sample all of them. And my kids just thought that was the greatest thing in the world, as did I.
What kind of prep did you do for your kids, taking a step back here of like, hey, we're doing this thing? Like, did you really let them go in blind, or did you kind of tell them a lot about what to expect and what they were going to be getting up to?
So they have a lot of friends who've done Disney cruises. So I think they've heard snippets here and there. We watched a few YouTube videos, but I did want things like them announcing your name when you walked on the ship. I wanted some of that to be a surprise. So I didn't really reveal a lot other than, hey, we're doing this Disney cruise and Mickey Mouse is going to be there and there's going to be lots of free ice cream. So that alone sold them.
Doesn't take too much more than you can have as much ice cream as you want when you want it. Well, then it is probably getting close to time to check out your stateroom. What stateroom did you book and how did that work for you and your family?
We were on deck 7. So all my research said to minimize seasickness, you should be midship and like middle of the boat. So we picked deck 7, midship, and it was great. We were very close to the elevators, which I was worried about noise at first, but because of the way the hallways were set up, there was no noise from the elevator. We were right by the stairs. And what was nice with deck 7, it wasn't too much effort to take the stairs up to deck 11 to the pool deck. And it was such an easy walk downstairs to get to deck 3, where there's a lot of the action with the atrium. So it was a great place to go because we really didn't have to wait on the elevators often.
And what did you think of the stateroom itself?
It was great. The split bathroom is genius, and I feel like every hotel needs to start doing that. Just with a family and everyone needing to take turns, that was nice. And organizing too, just saying like, here's where our toothpaste, this room's going to be where our toothpaste is, and washing face and all that stuff goes in here. And then this bathroom's going to have like the wet swimsuits and the other stuff. And it helps to kind of get everything organized. And then we also splurged on a veranda, which was really nice. We looked at the pricing. If we had left 2 weeks later, right after my kids got out of school, it would have cost $2,000 more for the exact same cruise. I was thinking, well, we could either do an interior cabin and do it after school in the summertime, or we could just pull them out for 1 week of school and save a lot of money and then have that veranda. And personally for me, that veranda was so nice because it just gives you a little bit more of living space. So if you need a quiet moment or you just want to get away for a little bit, like a second room. And so when you're all crammed into one room, it was nice just to be able to step out and have that moment of calm before you go back in the chaos of your cabin.
Are you full unpackers for your sailing, or do you live out of the suitcase?
I do half and half. So we use packing cubes. So one thing that was really helpful is I put all of the pirate night costumes in one packing cube, all of the swim gear in another packing cube. And then I think we had matching outfits for formal night. That was in a packing cube. And then everybody else had their own packing cube with other everyday clothes. So I unpacked, I put the packing cube in the drawers, but I don't actually take everything out of it. So it's kind of halfway unpacked.
Gotcha. Well, let's leave the cabin and move on. You would probably be getting close to your muster drill, I'm guessing, or did
Yes.
you do anything else before that?
Well, we had to check out the kids club. So we went to the open house and stayed there, I think, until they closed for the muster drill. My kids had so much fun in the kids club. And I'm glad we did the open house because then when we told them later, like, hey, we want to go do this activity, then they were looking forward to going, oh, okay, you go do that grown-up thing. We'll go do the kids club.
Love it. Any thoughts on that muster drill then?
We had a great muster drill experience. We were in the Walt Disney Theater, so we had seats and everybody showed up. So they just went through the names and they're like, okay, everybody's here and you can start dismissing. So we were probably the first group that was released, I would guess, based on foot traffic. And so we went up all the stairs from the deck 3, the Walt Disney Theater, all the way up to deck 12, because our friends told us the best spot to watch the sail away party is on deck 12 right along the banister. So I made my family book it up all those stairs, and we were some of the first people up on that deck.
How was the sail away party?
Oh, it was great. Again, I kept a lot of things as surprises for my kids, so they didn't know that they'd be seeing. They'd see some characters, but they did not realize how many characters would be on board and that there would be songs and dances and all that stuff. So that was really fun.
Love it. Were you early dining for the sailing?
No, we chose late dining. And
Why?
a lot of people are asking me, why would you pick that? We live in the Midwest, so late dining's 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock isn't really that late for us. So we didn't really have to adjust. And my husband and I really enjoy theater shows. And we haven't introduced our kids to a lot of theater shows yet. They're just, if you want to go see them, the tickets are very expensive if you want decent seats. So we wanted to prioritize them being awake and happy and in good moods for the theater shows. And then we can kind of worry about dinner later. So we also didn't want to be rushed on Lookout Key Day, Castaway Key Day. I didn't want to rush and try to get to dinner. I just wanted to like have a leisurely afternoon and then we go to the theater. That ended up working out great. I have a friend who's sailing in 2 months and she keeps asking, she's like, are you sure we should do late dining? And I said, you do what's best for you. But for us, we would prioritize the theater show. So everybody was excited for that. And then afterwards, kind of depending on the kids' mood, we might feed them on the pool deck and send them to kids club. If they didn't want to sit through a long adult dinner, we would do some other activity as a family and then go eat the dinner in the rotational dining rooms.
I love that reasoning. And yeah, late dining when you're port extensive is awesome because there is no rush to get back and you're not back and then, time to eat.
Sometimes we would try to go around 5 o'clock to get pictures. And then once that first dining rush would go to dinner, then the lines for the photos were really short. So we were able to get a lot of family photos in that way.
Awesome. Did you have a show on your embarkation night?
No, we didn't have a show. So on embarkation night, my husband and I decided to go to the movie theater and watch Devil Wears Prada 2. So the kids got to go to the kids club and then we got to enjoy one of the free movies.
What a nice, relaxing way to start the sailing.
Exactly.
Well, then we jump into your first rotational dining dinner. Where was that at?
Enchanted Garden.
And how was that meal for you and your family?
It was great. It was a long meal for my kids. They did have the kids club cast members come around and do a walkthrough to pick up kids to take them to the kids club. But we were still waiting for our food at that point and finishing up our dinner. So we weren't able to take advantage of that service. But it was a long dinner for my kids after a very long and exciting day. So again, about half of the nights we would have dinner together. And then half of the days we decided to just feed them on the pool deck and then send them to the kids club. So we'd have a little date night built in.
Did you get up to anything else on your embarkation night then?
No, we were tired. We were tired from everything, so we just went to bed.
Understandable. Embarkation day is very stimulating, very fun, and very exciting, but there's often a very big crash at the end of that day. Well, let's go ahead and just go day by day here, and we will move into your next day here, which should be your Nassau day.
Yes, we loved our Nassau day. That's actually, my husband proposed on a cruise ship in Nassau overlooking the Atlantis Hotel, again, almost 20 years ago. So that was really fun and special to be able to bring the kids back there. We signed up for the Disney cruise excursion to Blue Lagoon, and it was a dolphin encounter. We opted not to do the dolphin swim because we just thought it would be a lot for the kids. And the kids that was one of their big wishes, was to be able to pet a dolphin. So that was a really great experience. We met in the theater and then we lined up outside. Blue Lagoon had a ferry that took us to their island. And so that was really fun, little boat ride for the kids. When we got there, they took us straight to the dolphin encounter experience and we got to watch some groups do it first. So we knew what to expect. And then we went in and we got to pet the dolphins and get our photos taken and all that stuff was fun. And then I think my husband's favorite beach day was at Blue Lagoon. Right afterwards, we went to the Blue Lagoon beach and we spent the rest of the afternoon there. We had food there and it was just, the Bahamas are so beautiful. The water was so clear. And it just felt like a very safe little cove for the kids to be swimming in.
Was that food included with the excursion?
It was. And it was probably similar to what Castaway Key and Lookout Key has.
Gotcha. Is that an excursion that you think you would do again?
I think I would. I think if the kids were older, I would do the dolphin swim so they could actually swim with the dolphins. They also have a sea lion encounter that I personally really wanted to do, but my daughter was too young to do it. So we did not sign up for that one yet.
How long was that excursion?
Probably 5.5 to 6 hours, including all that transportation time.
Did you have a set time back, or did they have the ferries kind of going back and forth, like as people wanted to leave?
They had a set time back. They had multiple groups there. Right when we were arriving, there was a group that was getting ready to leave. They were on a different cruise line. So the beach was pretty empty when we were there. I think it was just Disney people that were left with our timing. So that was really nice too. It's nice to be able to be on a big crowded cruise, but then get away and still have some like space to yourself.
So then, big question here is, what made you want to do an excursion in Nassau? I mean, we hear so often of like, oh yeah, it's my Nassau day at sea. I'm honestly just like super excited that we had somebody going out and talking and doing something.
So my husband and I, when we did our cruise before, we stopped at Nassau and we walked around and we had a great time. So I know I've heard people concerned that it might be kind of dirty or just unsafe. And especially with the Disney cruise excursion, I mean, you're always with the group. They're taking you from place to place. I honestly probably wouldn't even feel unsafe just getting off and walking around and exploring a little bit. The area you walk through to get back on the ships, it's all these new looking buildings and little shops and tourist things to do. So really, if you want to get off the boat, but not really get in the thick of things, you can kind of get a little touristy experience just walking right off the ship.
Was there anything else you had considered doing in Nassau?
No, my husband and I, for our 10-year anniversary, swam with dolphins in Hawaii. So that was like the number one thing my kids wanted to do, was to swim with dolphins. And it's a lot cheaper to do it in the Bahamas than it is to do it in Hawaii. So I was like, well, we'll make it work on this cruise.
Wonderful. Well, then you make your way back towards the ship. What did you get up to when you got back?
So the kids went to the kids club and I took a nap. And then finally it was time for the Aladdin show. So we got the kids all washed up and we went to go see Aladdin, which was so fun. I mean, my daughter she's seen the movies, but she's never been super into Disney princesses. She loves animals, so she'll love more like Lady and the Tramp kind of characters. So this was really fun for her because she really, for the first time, I think, meeting the princesses in real life, it all just clicked. And she's like, oh, this is a really fun thing to be a fan of.
And that bring you right into your dinner then?
Yes. So then we did Aladdin show. And afterwards, we did some photos while we waited for dinner. We did the Disney magic photo where you look and then the genie appears when they publish your picture. So that was really fun. The kids weren't expecting that.
And where was your dinner this night?
It was at the Royal Court.
Well, how was your meal at Royal Court?
It was great. And we really liked the theming of that restaurant. Again, my daughter's kind of getting more into the princesses now. So just seeing the different murals, are they murals, mosaics that they had throughout the restaurant was really fun. And our wait staff was so nice and great and helped the kids get through another long meal.
Did anyone get up to anything else after that dinner that evening?
I don't believe so. I especially like to get up and from my experience at Disneyland, I've learned to become a rope dropper. And this impacts not just Disney experiences, but also just many other experiences in my life. I've learned to set alarms and try to be the first one to sign up for a summer camp or sign up for a campsite. So in this case, I really wanted to rope drop Lookout Key if we could, so we could get a great spot and enjoy the beach as long as we could that day. So typically after dinner, we would just wrap up and get ready for bed so we could have an early start the next day.
Well, you wake up your next day and you're in beautiful Lookout Key. What were your expectations for Lookout?
Well, my expectations were that we would be able to get up, eat a quick breakfast, and get on Lookout Key. However, my daughter's asthma was flaring up. It was getting really bad every single evening. And so by this morning, it was really bad. Her inhaler and allergy medicines weren't helping. So we called down to the ship's doctor and I asked if she could have access to a nebulizer to use. And of course they said, well, if it's that bad, then they have to come see her. So my husband took her down and she had to do 2 different breathing treatments. And then they gave her an oral steroid to take as a prescription. So that doctor's visit ended about 10 a.m. So we had a late start at Lookout Key, but it's nice that they were on board and that they were able to take care of her problem. They said a lot of kids with asthma do have problems with the recirculated air in a cruise ship. So now we know that. So in the future, if we're cruising, we actually just went to a water park a couple weeks ago, and I made sure I packed her nebulizer just now that I'm aware that this isn't a problem when you're in an environment like that. But the overall cost of it, I want to say it was maybe $200 for the visit and the breathing treatments and the steroids that they prescribed her, which honestly, if I had zero insurance and I had to walk into an urgent care with no insurance card, I would be paying a lot more money than that for that level of treatment. So I thought it wasn't as expensive as I expected. I also am putting in a claim with our travel insurance, so hopefully that cost will get reimbursed in the future.
Well, you get that taken care of, and kudos to you for having the travel insurance.
Yep.
But then you finally get to step out onto Lookout. What was that like?
That was probably the highlight for me. I loved Lookout Key. You have the soft white sand beaches. It was just so beautiful. It's such a long beach. It was easy to walk away and get away from the crowds. We brought our own snorkel gear. So my kids automatically were like, we want to get in the water. We wanted our goggles and snorkels on. And they were taking off, looking at all the things that they could see in the water. I walked out in the water up to like my waist, and I could not believe how stunningly clear the water was. It was like bath water. Like I could just see through everything. I could see my feet clearly. I could see my kids clearly. It was just so beautiful. I saw on Instagram that there are like sea caves you can look at the end of the beach. And I tried to get my kids to come with me, but they were wanting to swim down there and it was taking way too long. So we did not make it down to the sea caves, but it's on my list for next time to, with or without the kids, just to go down and check out that area. So we spent all morning on the beach. The kids just had an absolute blast. Then we ended up going to lunch late, maybe around 1 o'clock. It was about 30 minutes before lunch closed. The good side to going to a later lunch is you have less crowds. The downside is they were already running out of ice cream. And at the end of our meal, they had no more cups. And my plan was to create like a little ice cream sundae. I think I heard someone on the podcast say that. Put the soft serve in, crumble your cookie on top, and then you've got an ice cream sundae. I was not able to do that, which is fine. I was happy with the cookie. But that was just one thing I was mindful of when we went to Castaway Key, is to not wait until the last minute to eat, because things might be used up by then. We had our lunch at, I think it was True 2 barbecue. And then we went over to the pavilion for the Junkanoo celebration, which my kids and I watched the Lookout Key documentary. So we knew what to look for. We were expecting this, and that was just really fun. And it was amazing how many musicians they have and how many dancers they have, and just seeing these big, bright, beautiful costumes. It was so fun to watch like the artists design them and make them in the documentary, and then to actually be there in real life and see it was very special.
I love it. Any other notes or anything else you did on Lookout?
One thing I underestimated was how hot it would get in the afternoon. We are more of a rope dropping kind of family, but to definitely prioritize that and try to get out there early. So when it does get too hot, you either go back in the beach or you get back on the boat.
About how much time did you spend on the island then?
Probably 5 hours. I think we got off the island. My daughter's doctor's appointment was done about 10 a.m. And then we were probably getting on the tram heading back around 3.
Love it. So you would say Lookout at least met your expectations then?
Absolutely. And I'm sad my kids did not want to try the kids club on Lookout Key, so I didn't get to check out the adult beach. So that's also on my list for next time.
Amazing. Well, you head back to the ship. You have a little bit of time before your dinner. Did you have a show this night?
Oh, so our Lookout Key night was our pirate night as well. So after our Lookout Key, we dropped the kids off at the kids club, and my husband got a couple drinks. We did the drink of the day and sat on our veranda and just enjoyed the view as this ship sailed off. So we had a little bit of quiet and calm before the pirates came out. Then I picked my son up from the kids club and we went to the Pirates League. And I was expecting it to be look and feel like the boutique, but then they would just have some pirate costumes on the side. And no, it completely transformed into this whole pirate experience. And the cast members were dressed up as pirates and they talked like pirates. And it was great. My son's 9 and I used to teach that age group. And I know that around this age, some of them start to lose some of that whimsy and wonder. So I was really pleased. It was actually his wish. He said, I would really like to do the pirate makeover and have this experience. So it was really nice that I was able to give that to him and watch him transform into this pirate. He actually loved it so much that every night after that, he would change into his pirate's costume for dinner because he just wanted to keep wearing it.
I love that all so much.
Yeah. So right after his pirate makeover, we went to the Mickey show, which I preferred more than the later show that evening. I don't know. It was just so fun and everyone was singing along and they had a family on stage. So it was just more of a like fun, jolly pirate show. And I was also concerned that some of the pirate stuff would be too scary for my daughter, but it was, of course, it's Disney. So of course it was fine. And it was all very fun and family friendly. Then we dropped the kids off at Kids Club. We fed them food from the pool deck and they went to Kids Club. And then my husband and I just enjoyed the Pirates menu on our own. So I know some people don't enjoy the Pirates Night menu as much, but Christy just went, I think she was on the cruise ship right before mine. I think she sailed like May 5th through May 10th, and I got on May 10th. And she had just posted on Instagram that they had released new menus on a fantasy. So we got to try out that new menu and we really liked it. They had samosas and crab cakes that I enjoyed. I definitely learned that I need to order multiple appetizers and entrees just to get the variety that I like. Yeah, for me, the crab cakes were probably the highlight of that, and the toffee pudding. I always think of the pudding desserts as being more of a British thing, and I never think to order it, but because it's a cruise and I can order multiple desserts, I was like, why don't I try it? And now I'm a huge fan of the toffee pudding and the sticky date pudding.
Yeah, we did the Pirate Night menu on my last sailing, and I basically told the server, like, just bring me whatever he recommends, and it was actually, like, a great and surprisingly lovely meal.
Oh, good. Yeah, and that was something, I think I'd heard people say, like, oh, the servers know what people enjoy the most. You should ask them. And it didn't really occur to me until, like, the third or fourth night to finally be like, hey, what do you like on this menu? And yes, our server always knocked it out of the park. He knew exactly what we would enjoy.
Love it. Well, after that meal, you probably pick up the kids and head up to the second deck party?
Yes, we did. And that was so fun. I knew there was a fireworks show at the end of that party. Was expecting it to be like when your home team gets a home run, just a few fireworks, it's done. This was like a long, 5 to 10 minute fireworks show. So I was really excited. I love fireworks, and that was such a great way to end the night.
Did Pirate Night meet the expectations for you and your family?
It did. I knew people dressed up. I did not know how much people dressed up. There were definitely adults in full pirate costumes, to the point that my son was like, wait a minute, are they a Disney cast member or are they just a cruiser? I was like, oh, that's a cruiser, but this person over here, this is a cast member. So it was just really fun. And to see how many kids were at the boutique and getting the Pirates makeover, it's fun because it just felt like a big community event.
I love it. How fun. Well, you finally have a full day to just enjoy the ship. You have a day at sea coming up. Yes. What did your family get up to here?
So because we had the DCL transit, when it was check-in time, and we had no status because it was our first Disney cruise. So on check-in time 30 days out, instead of checking into the cruise right away, I went and snagged that Royal Gathering time. So at 9:30, my daughter got to go and she got to meet the princesses. She saw Mulan, Cinderella, Tiana, and Belle. And that was one of many highlights for her because again, she's kind of getting into her princess era now. So that was really fun. I had to sadly miss it because I wanted to go. My number one wish list item for the cruise was to do the Art of the Theme tour. So I went and we met at the Meridian, which was such a cool bar. I would have never even thought to go look at any of the bars. My husband and I aren't big drinkers, and we were often shuttling the kids from one activity to the other. We didn't really have any downtime. So it was really nice that I prioritized that and I got to kind of see these other spaces and learn a little bit more of the theming. My favorite part of that was they took us into Remy's and they showed us they had two saran wrapped wine bottles, and they were both the wine bottles that were featured in the movie Ratatouille. The one was the wine that he drank in the very last scene when he ate the Ratatouille meal. And that bottle was a $20,000 bottle of wine. So it's probably the closest I'll ever get to a $20,000 bottle of wine.
Yeah, the Art of the Theme ship tour, and then on some of the newer ships, it's called like Making of the Ship Name Here, are just so amazing. And you learn so many things that you had probably walked by 20 times and thought nothing of. And now you'll always walk by that and be like, yeah, that's that thing from the tour.
I know. And if we sail the Fantasy again, I'll probably do that tour again, because I think each person who does it in a different way and highlights different things. So I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, you can get a lot of variety even on the same ship out of those tours, and it's a lot of fun. Any other highlight activities that anyone did this day?
So because we were at Lookout Key and in Nassau, lunch was provided on all those days. We had not experienced the lunch at Cabanas, and that really knocked my socks off. I was not expecting all of that seafood there and all of the desserts that they had and just the nice big variety of food. My son tends to be a little bit on the pickier side, but we were always able to find something for him to eat. And I just really liked the selection at Cabanas. I'm not typically a big buffet person, and I stand corrected by going to Cabanas for lunchtime. That was a really nice meal.
I love it. Real quick, actually, while we're talking about Cabanas, where did your family tend to like do their breakfasts?
We did every morning we did breakfast at Cabanas. So that was my husband. We had matching cruise t-shirts on the first day, and his t-shirt said most likely to be at the buffet. So that was his wish, was that every day we would go to the buffet at least once. And Cabanas made the most sense, especially because we wanted to get up and get going on our activities. And I underestimated the Mickey waffles. I thought everybody was just hyping them up because they look like Mickey, but they actually do like taste better. I don't know how I could recreate this at home, but the Mickey waffles and the churro waffles were definitely my top breakfast item.
Love it. Thank you for that. I can't get over the has to go to the buffet every day.
I know.
Well, circling it back to your sea day, what other activities did you get up to?
So we did the early show for Frozen. I think it was 12:45 was when the show happened. So we had lunch at the buffet, and my husband got in line early. The theater shows were a big highlight for the both of us. So he wanted to get like the best seats he could. So he stood in line and we joined him. We watched the 12:45 Frozen show. And then afterwards, my daughter had her Bib Boutique appointment, which was the two main things they wanted to do. They wanted to pet a dolphin, which they got to do in Nassau. And then they both wanted to get a Bib Boutique makeover, which they both got. She had been talking about this for weeks leading up to the cruise. That was the only thing. We watched a YouTube video of a girl getting her boutique makeover. So that was the main thing she knew you could do on the cruise. And that was all she talked about. And that was her absolute favorite part of the whole cruise, was getting to do that. It was really special because we just watched Frozen. And then when we went there and she was picking out dresses, she ended up picking out Anna, which is fun because we just watched that show. And she had a great experience getting her nails done and her makeup and her hair. And then she just really afterwards transformed into this really very regal person. She made me carry some of her things so she could hold her skirt and walk around like a princess. And she would pose with things like a princess, and just her whole persona changed into this queenly like person, not like a little bubbling 6-year-old like she normally is.
That's amazing. Any thoughts between the pirate makeover experience and the Bippity Beach? I mean, it sounds like you had positives with both.
Yes, I think I like all the accessories and things that they get with the pirate makeover, because they got like the stuffed pirate or the stuffed parrot on their shoulder, a medallion. I can't even remember all the things he got, but he just got all this stuff. And she got some extra things. She got a scepter, a wand. She got a wand, and she got a tiara and like some of the makeup stuff. So I was just, it's a lot of money for what it is, but I was pleased with all the extras that were included in the experience.
Well, continuing on with your day, what other activities did you get up to?
My son went to a magic show, and he's always loves magic. So he did one of the magic shows. My daughter, because she had her makeover, we really prioritized getting photos taken. So we had the photos that they did in the atrium, like the frozen pictures and stuff. And I mean, some of these, they really turned out to look like a little girl's royal portrait. So that was really fun. She really got into character that whole time. But yes, with the magic show, there was a magician who did like some close-up magic, and they had a camera on him so you could see on the screen what he was doing. And then he actually taught the kids how to do some of the tricks as well.
Amazing. Sounds like an awesome day at sea.
It was.
Was there anything that you were hoping to do this day that you didn't get to?
I was really hoping to just lounge around poolside for a little bit while the kids did the aqueduct and the pool, but they just wanted to run around the ship and see different things and go in and out of the kids club. So we were kind of following their lead for the day instead of my more relaxing day that I had in mind.
And then with all
Yes.
of the amazing things you can do on the ship.
Exactly.
Well, does that about bring you into your dinner time?
It does. So that night we ate at Animator's Palette. The one downside with the Fantasy is there's not a lot of entertainment at the restaurants during the dinner. So I was really pleased with that one because they have Crush show up on the screen and some of the characters coming in and out, and the fish would make a shape and you'd try to guess what shape the fish were going to make. So that was nice because it was able to entertain my kids a little bit while they were waiting for their meal.
Did you get up to anything else this evening before we move on to your next day?
Nope.
Well, then, this will take you into your last full day. A very exciting day, the original private island Castaway. What were your expectations for Castaway?
So I was thinking this would be a very beach-centric day, lots of swimming. We actually, all 4 family members, we bought snorkel gear so we could snorkel and see the statues. The kids saw that play structure and they were so excited to get in the water and go down the slides and do all of that fun stuff.
But
As we were eating breakfast in cabanas, getting ready for an early start to our Castaway Day, it started raining, and then we saw lightning and thunder, and we thought, okay, well, that's okay. We'll check the weather, and once it passes, we'll have our great beach day. And we finally got off the ship probably around 10 o'clock. That's when the weather seemed to settle down. We got to the beach. We found a good spot, and we kind of got the kids settled, and they were busy playing in the sand and making sand castles and all this stuff. And then it was getting hot. We're like, okay, well, it's time to go swimming. And I didn't really think anything of it. I was just like, oh, this is so funny because all the kids on the beach are building sand castles right now. Nobody's in the water swimming. Well, let's be the first one. So we were getting our snorkel gear on and everything ready. And my kids started to go out in the water, and the lifeguard stopped us and said, no, the water's closed. Well, we're from the Midwest. We're used to thunderstorms. And yes, typically at a pool, if there's been lightning in the past 30 minutes, you're not allowed back in the pool. So we're like, oh, they are just waiting for the storm to pass. Like they probably have some protocol they follow. More and more time went on, and we're like, man, we're still not allowed in the water. They must have very strict protocol when there's lightning. finally, I was like, this has got to be enough time. Let me just go talk to the people at the snorkel place. I was like, I'll just get the life jackets. So we're ready. As soon as the water opens up, we can send the kids out and we can all snorkel as a family. Well, then I go up to get that and they said, oh no, the water's closed, not because of the lightning, but because there's a shark in the water and they can't get it out. Apparently, the family lagoon has some netting this is all what I've gathered from Facebook. So don't quote me on any of this, but there's netting that like protects the family lagoon, and somehow a shark tore through the netting and was actively swimming in the lagoon. There are people who actually have videos of the shark in the water. I don't know how they got close enough to the water to get the videos of the shark, but there were videos of the shark in the water. So our very beach-centric day changed drastically once I learned that we were not going to be getting in the water anytime soon. Of course, I don't know how long it takes to locate a shark and get it back out into the ocean. So we were kept being hopeful, like, oh, maybe 20 more minutes. Oh, maybe in an hour they'll have it. I took my daughter to the splash pad because it was just too hot to be on the beach and do nothing else. And my son ended up joining. It's no rush out, gush out. It's very much more for like toddlers and little kids. My kids still had a lot of fun and were able to cool off, but it was not enough to sustain us for a whole day. So then we went and fed them lunch and dropped them off at the kids club. And again, they were very adamant on the beach days that they did not want to do kids club. They wanted to be on the beach. They wanted to be swimming. But with the circumstances, we're like, there's no other choice. And we really wanted to check out Serenity Bay. So we dropped them off at Kids Club and said, we promise we'll be back in an hour. We're just going to go look at the other beach and then we'll be right back. I did not understand the layout of Castaway Cay. We got to Castaway Cay and everything's normal. Everyone's at the beach swimming. Everything's nice. And I was like, oh, had I known this sooner, I would have been happy to drop the kids off at the kids club and come and had our own adult beach day at Serenity Bay. But that was one frustrating point, was just the lack of communication. They just said they did have a chalkboard sign that said like water closed due to wildlife, but there was no like message sent out. There was no announcement made. I understand they can't tell you exactly what happened because you don't want to scare children from getting in the water in the future, but more information would have been helpful. And again, we just kept thinking, oh, it won't be much longer until the issue's resolved. And it ended up being the whole day. So my husband and I did make it in time. He had difficulty with the trams. He didn't realize he had to change trams at the one location in order to get to Serenity Bay. So he dropped the kids off. I went to Serenity Bay, ate lunch by myself, waited for a very long time. Then he finally made it. We had about 15 minutes on the beach before the kids club was closing. So we had 15 minutes of beach time that we wanted, and then we were able to go back and pick up the kids and get back to the ship.
Well, unfortunately, sounds like a little bit of a disappointing day at Castaway for sure. Mm-hmm. Sorry to hear. Unfortunately, not much we can do about sharks in the water.
Right. It's a good story, and it's a good excuse to go back and experience Castaway Cay again without the sharks.
That's a great way to put it. We love the positive spins. But you get on the ship, and sadly, you're in your final evening on board.
I finally took my kids to the pool deck. We didn't really have like a relaxing pool day like I had hoped, but my daughter was thrilled to be jumping in the pool with the hundreds of other kids who were also bobbing around in the pool. That was really fun to watch her. My son and I did the aqueduct, and then he quickly wanted to just go back to the kids club. They both were obsessed with the kids club. My daughter, they both, after the pool, they wanted to change back into their boutique outfits. They told me that they get like a lot of extra comments and attention from the cast members in the kids club when they wear their costumes. So they got dressed up for their last night and had some more fun in the kids club. While they were in the kids club, my husband and I sadly had to spend that time frantically packing and getting ready to wrap things up.
That Castaway on your last day is so hard.
Yes, I was really hoping it would be a day at sea. And then when I saw the schedule come out, I was like, oh, shoot, that's not what I was hoping for. But
Well, then this should bring you into your final evening at dinner.
Yes. And so our Castaway evening, we started with the show Believe. And my husband leaned over and he's like, watch, they're going to tug at our heartstrings and try to make us come back again. And oh my gosh, if that's not exactly what that show does. My kids loved it because the genie was in it almost the whole time. And they just thought he was the best, funniest person ever. This time, again, we dropped the theater. We were there probably 20 to 30 minutes before the doors opened. And we got the first row of the balcony, which for my bouncing little 6-year-old was very helpful. It was the first show she watched where she wasn't alternating between her seat and my lap and her dad's lap and her seat. She just stood and she just leaned over the banister and watched the whole time. So that was really fun. And every time a new character came out and Believe, they were just like, oh my gosh, there's Pocahontas and there's Rapunzel. So it was like a red carpet experience almost. You just heard all of a sudden my kids shouting, look, there's this person coming. So there was so much fun and excitement in that last show.
I love it. And then are you back to Enchanted Garden for your final dinner?
We are. And before we did Enchanted Garden, there was a dance party in the atrium that my daughter wanted to go to. So my son asked to go back to the kids club and I said, okay, we can, but first let's take a little walk outside and just enjoy our last night at sea, enjoy the view and everything. And next thing you know, we're playing shuffleboard for an hour on the deck. And then my daughter the dance party got too crowded for her, so she left. And my husband and her joined us. And it was just one of those nice moments where you kind of get away from all the hustle and bustle and what's next on my to-do list and what's on the navigator that we're missing out on. And it was just a nice time to connect as a family one more time before our cruise ended.
Yeah, that outside area on deck 4 can just be so relaxing and so fun to just hang out and connect.
Yes, especially when the sun's setting and the light was just so beautiful for photos.
Love it. Well, then you have your final dinner aboard. How was that?
It was good, except I realized that after this meal, I would no longer get multiple desserts with every meal going forward. And so the realization that's like, oh, we're going back home and I have to cook for myself and there's not going to be a constant supply of dessert. And my kids probably ate like 20 of the ice cream cones while they were there. I think it all started setting in during that last meal.
Talking about some of that dining in general, did you have a favorite meal?
Yeah, so my favorite, I liked that there was the variety that we could order multiple things and try different things. I really enjoyed the seafood, like the crab cakes, and I ordered sea scallops. I think it was on Pirate Night. That was fabulous. I live in the Midwest. I live very far from the sea. So anytime I get like really good quality seafood is always a treat. And then again, for me, I really like the desserts because I'm a big sweets person.
Amazing. Anything else to cap off your final night aboard?
No, we just sadly had to go back and finish packing. We did the fish extender experience for our kids. So we went through all the fun fish extender things and pulled out what they wanted to have access to while they were on the airplane ride home, and then packed up the rest of all of those things.
Let's actually talk about that a little bit. We haven't talked about fish extenders in a while. Did you do one of the dedicated groups for that?
Yes. So we joined the Facebook group for the cruise as soon as somebody put it together. I think somebody put together probably before we even signed up for it. Whoever was in charge of our Facebook group was great. They had cruised often. They were very organized. Everything was very scheduled. So we signed up early for the fish extender, and everything my kids got was great. I hope everyone enjoyed what we passed out. I was a little stressed the very first day because I had part of what was in the fish extender for each kid was a bucket, like a collapsible bucket and shovel. And I wanted to make sure those were all passed out before our lookout key day, which was day 2. So I did that. I think the first night of the ship, I went around and I made sure that we passed all of those out just so I didn't have to worry about passing those out. But my kids loved getting the fish extender gifts. They loved getting the pixie dust in there. It was such a fun fun little extra on top of everything else we did. I've heard horror stories about fish extenders online, horror stories about anything online, that is, and just people being very disappointed with what they got. So I set up the expectations for my kids. I said, hey, we signed up for this thing so we can surprise families with these fun gifts. And I did not tell them that they were getting anything in return. And I think that really helped. Again, we got something from everyone who was in our group, and it was all great and age appropriate stuff. But I just didn't want them to go in expecting anything. And I also wanted them to focus on, the joy comes from giving to others, not just receiving.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is that something you would do again if you were to do another Disney cruise?
No. Fish extender, while it was a great experience, it's a lot of stuff. And we typically like to travel carry-on only. I'm just worried about losing luggage, and it's just so much easier for our family if everyone just has one backpack and one suitcase. And so we had to upgrade to our largest suitcase just to fit all the fish extender things in there. So I would probably focus on pixie dusting next time and spread the joy around in a different way.
Yeah, a lot of people love just doing the pixie dusting, which for our listeners is basically not joining a dedicated group, but just choosing to sprinkle some extra magic while you're making your way around the ship. Well, sadly, your next day is disembarkation. What was that process like for you, and how did you get back home?
Our flight left at 12:30 p.m. So I was worried about trying to fit in breakfast and then getting on the DCL transit and getting back to the airport on time. So we opted to skip breakfast. I did have the foresight to take some of the churro Mickey waffles back to my room and stick them in a Ziploc baggie. So the morning while we were waiting for the ship to clear customs, my kids were snacking on churro Mickey waffles, which I'm sure everyone's like, how on earth did she get those? And I just saved them from the day before. But yes, we were out of our room by 7 a.m. and standing in line. So we were some of the first people who got off the ship. We had no wait to get on a bus to take us back to the airport. So we made it back to the airport. We went back to the same food court where we had dinner the very first night we flew in, and we were able to eat like a breakfast lunch kind of meal to tide us over. And then my kids had their $50 gift cards that they held on to for the whole cruise. And we looked at all the gift shops on board, and we looked at all the gift shops at Lookout Key and Castaway. And my kids had specific toys in mind that they liked at the airport, and they saved their gift cards and they went and bought those instead. So again, that was really nice, not having one more thing to worry about, because they bought their souvenirs at the very end of the trip.
Love it. Sounds like such an amazing cruise. Just a couple little hiccups that I think you were able to work through. I have a couple more questions for you before we take it out of the show. Or what is something you wish you knew before you're sailing that you knew?
I wish I would have taken the kids to the kids club on the island during the open house, because I didn't realize that though they loved the kids club on the cruise ship, I thought they would have transferred that joy to a kids club at the beach. And they did have fun on Castaway Cay once they experienced it, but I think they just didn't know what it would be like. So I would recommend checking out that open house, seeing if they even like it, or if they would just prefer to have a family beach day.
Awesome. Is there anything you missed out on that would be a must-do for next time?
I feel like there were so many things that I would love to go back on the Fantasy. I planned to do Midship Detective. Somehow we never had time. We never made time to do it. I would love to just go around and get a drink at some of the different bars. I saw a lot of those areas on my Art of the Theme tour, but I didn't actually get to sit down and enjoy any of the drinks there. We were just busy with other activities. So I guess just doing another cruise so we can do all the other things that we missed.
I love it. Well, we talked at the beginning of the show about the Fantasy being kind of hyped. And of course, you've got so many options now. Did the Fantasy live up to your expectations that people would maybe set for it?
Absolutely. In fact, I think I would like to try a different ship just to have that variety. But it's also hard because the layout of the Fantasy makes so much more sense. We know how everything flows. So I think it's one of those things, kind of the first country you the first foreign country you travel to, you fall in love with and you compare everything else to that. We will sadly be comparing everything else to the fantasy, which means, it might not be as great as the fantasy, but that's okay.
All the ships have many lovely things about them. Did you have any other notable cast interactions you wanted to highlight?
No, we had a lovely stateroom attendant who was from Jamaica. So I talked to her a little bit about where she's from, and she seemed appreciative that anyone was interested in Jamaica. I was like, everybody loves Jamaica. I don't know why she was surprised by that. One of the fun things that we did on the ship, we got to see Stitch and get pictures with Stitch, which I guess I wasn't thinking that he would be a common character to see. And so my kids both love that movie, and we waited in line probably for 45 minutes to see him, but it was totally worth it. I had my daughter dressed as Princess Anna and my son was dressed up as a pirate. It was, I think, our last night there. And then all these great photos of them with Stitch in their costumes.
Amazing. Well, Aimee, my last question for you is, what's next for you and your family?
We already have a couple of land-based trips booked for 2027. So we'll probably be looking for maybe spring break of 2028. We got to use our placeholder, of course. So we got to act quickly. But I would like to do a longer cruise, which I think everybody always says. The 5-night I thought was a good sampler cruise, and we got to try out both of the private islands. And that was a great experience. But definitely like some more days at sea, because as I said, there were so many things that we wanted to do on the Fantasy that we missed the first time. It would be nice to have a longer one next time.
Is there any other particular ship that piques your interest?
I really want to see the Coco restaurant on the Treasure, and all of those shows sound great. I mean, Moana and Beauty and the Beast sound wonderful. So my vote would be for the Treasure. We'll probably do a family vote and see what people are interested in. My husband's favorite Disney movie is Hercules. So he's probably going to heavily vote for the Destiny. So we'll see who wins out on that.
Well, any day on any Disney ship is better than not. So you really can't go wrong with any of the options.
That's right. A mother of a former student of mine has a social media account called Once Upon a Wardrobe. And it's a styling service. And she has great outfit ideas and wonderful. And she had packing lists and all sorts of stuff. So I was able to really use her information a lot to help me plan and get some cute photo ops in for my family.
Love it. Well, Aimee, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your family's first Disney cruise with us.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, that is going to wrap up the show. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, you can follow Christy at Pack Your Pixie Dust or utilize her travel services by hitting the Book with Christy link right down below. You can follow myself at MouseGen on Instagram and YouTube, and you can follow the podcast at DCL Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Once again, we want to thank Aimee for coming on and sharing her family's adventure on the Disney Fantasy. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailings and safe travels. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.